There is a strange thing about the soul. It is often most restless when the world is most silent, and yet it is in the silence that the greatest healing takes place. You do not need to see God with your eyes in order to know He is near. The eyes often deceive. They are dazzled by appearances, captured by shadows, and distracted by passing lights. But when you close them, when you willingly turn from the visible world, you discover that the eternal has been waiting quietly, faithfully, beyond the reach of sight. Healing is not always the mending of flesh or the straightening of what is bent in the body. It is first the restoration of what sin, fear, and despair have broken within us. Many carry wounds invisible to every physician, scars that no human hand can trace. And yet, when you close your eyes, you find that God knows each fracture, each hidden ache, each unspoken cry. He is not rushing as the world rushes, nor impatient as men are impatient. He waits to touch you where you are most frail, even in the secret places you have long concealed. We imagine that healing must arrive as thunder, as fire, as some violent tearing open of the heavens, but more often it comes as a quiet light, spreading softly through the cracks of the soul. It comes as the assurance that you are not abandoned, that your failures do not define you, and that every moment of pain can be redeemed by the one who holds time itself. The act of closing your eyes is not an escape from reality. It is an entry into the truer reality, where the unseen is more enduring than the visible, where the spirit moves freely, unhindered by the frailty of flesh. Now, in this very moment, as you sit with closed eyes, you are nearer to healing than you know. Not because you have earned it, nor because you have understood it, but because God delights to give Himself to those who are still enough to receive Him. The touch of His hand does not always remove the burden, but it makes you stronger than the weight. His breath does not always silence the storm, but it speaks peace into your trembling heart. And His presence, unseen yet undeniable, whispers that you are loved with a love that nothing, not even the sharpest wound, can sever. Close your eyes, for in the unseen, God's healing hand is at work. Close your eyes, for in the unseen, God's healing hand is at work. There is a realm beyond the noise and distraction of this world, a place that cannot be reached by the senses, but only by surrender. When the eyes are closed, the spirit learns to listen differently, to feel differently, to trust in what cannot be touched. It is here that God draws near, not with spectacle or demand, but with a presence that moves like breath, gentle and steady, unseen yet undeniable. Many believe that healing must be proven by what can be seen, measured, or explained, but the truest healing begins where the eye cannot travel, deep in the hidden chambers of the soul. Pain, fear, and regret build walls that seem impenetrable, yet when you close your eyes and turn inward toward Him, you find that His hand has already begun to undo what chains you. His work is not always loud, not always sudden, but it is certain. The unseen hand of God reaches where no human hand can go. It touches the memory that still burns, the wound that has lingered for years, the shame that refuses to release its hold. This is not a healing that waits for permission from circumstance, nor does it depend on the shifting winds of human opinion. It flows from the eternal heart of God, who knows every fracture and every hidden scar. To close your eyes is to admit that the world cannot give you what you need most, that true restoration cannot be purchased or performed by earthly means. It is a quiet act of faith, a turning from the seen to the unseen, from the temporary to the eternal. In the unseen, the impossible becomes possible, because God is not bound by limits or hindered by impossibilities. His hand works in silence, reshaping despair into hope, rewriting the story of your heart even as you rest in His presence. While the world clamors for proof, he is already renewing your strength, already binding what was broken, already filling empty places with his peace. Close your eyes and you will realize that his healing has been nearer than you ever thought, not waiting for some future moment, but present, alive, and moving in you. Now healing begins not in the body, but in the depths of the soul. Healing begins not in the body, but in the depths of the soul. So often we measure wholeness by the strength of our limbs, the freedom of our breath, or the vigor of our steps, yet the truest form of health lies far beneath the surface. A body may appear strong while the soul quietly bleeds, weighed down by bitterness, fear, or shame. The wounds within cannot be stitched by human hands nor soothed by earthly remedies. They cry for a healing that transcends medicine, a restoration that begins where no surgeon's tool or physician's wisdom can reach. It is the soul that shapes the way we see the world, the way we endure pain, the way we love, and the way we hope. If the soul is fractured, every part of life feels distorted. But when the soul is healed, even weakness in the body cannot rob us of peace. The soul is the wellspring from which all else flows. To neglect it is to let the roots of life wither while the leaves are polished. Many chase outward cures while the deeper sickness festers untouched, seeking distraction in success, comfort, or pleasure, only to discover that the emptiness returns when the noise fades. But when the soul is restored, the entire being begins to align with the order and peace of God. The storms of circumstance may still rage, but the one whose soul is whole stands anchored, unshaken, unafraid. The healing of the soul does not erase struggle, but changes the way we meet it. It is the difference between despair and endurance, between collapse and courage. Healing in the depths of the soul is not achieved by human striving, but by divine grace. It is found in surrender, in admitting our brokenness and allowing God to step into the places we have tried to hide. He mends what we cannot mend, lifting the weight of guilt, dissolving the poison of resentment, and filling the hollows carved by fear with his unyielding love. It is a work invisible to the eye but undeniable in its effect. Joy begins to rise again, not because circumstances have shifted, but because the soul is no longer enslaved to them. Hope becomes more than wishful thinking. It becomes an anchor rooted in eternity. When the soul is healed, the body may still falter, but the heart sings with a freedom that no sickness can silence. For true life begins in the unseen places where God makes his home. God's quiet touch restores what no human eye can perceive. God's quiet touch restores what no human eye can perceive. There are places within us that words cannot name, places that ache not with physical pain, but with the weight of sorrow, regret, or emptiness. These are the chambers of the heart that no one else sees, the hidden corners of the mind where old memories linger and unspoken fears take root. Though we may present strength to the world, inwardly we carry burdens too heavy for anyone else to lift. Yet it is into these unseen depths that God moves, not with noise or spectacle, but with a stillness that heals more powerfully than any force we can imagine. His touch is not always dramatic, not always accompanied by signs that others can measure, but it penetrates deeper than any outward remedy ever could. There is a kind of healing that goes unnoticed by the world because it does not begin with outward change. It begins in the silence where his presence meets our weakness. The quiet touch of God does not demand attention. It does not clamor for recognition. Instead, it works in the background of the soul, slowly knitting together what was torn, breathing life into places that felt abandoned, and restoring peace where confusion once reigned. His touch is like light seeping through a closed door, entering even the darkest places without resistance, revealing that the darkness was never stronger than the presence of his love. What no eye can perceive is often what most defines a person. The inner battles, the silent prayers, the hidden scars, these are the places where his restoration is most needed and where his touch is most effective. Human help can comfort for a time, but it cannot reach the root of the soul's longing. God alone enters that sacred space without intrusion, moving gently, tenderly, with a wisdom that knows exactly where the wound lies. His restoration is not bound to the speed of time nor the measure of human understanding. It is steady, faithful, unfolding even when we do not recognize it. When God restores in silence, the evidence emerges not first in the eyes of others, but in the quiet strength within ourselves. The heart that was restless finds calm, the mind that was burdened discovers clarity, and the spirit that was weary begins to rise again. His quiet touch does what no visible hand could ever accomplish, for it reshapes us from the inside out, anchoring us in a love that cannot be seen, but can be felt more deeply than anything else in life.